This video is brought to you by FlexiSpot, because somebody needs a new freaking chair. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and according to this month's Patreon poll, we're finally gonna be looking into the massive clan of evil master splinters that... Alright, that's it. Will you knock it off? I'm trying to record in here.
Yeah, and I'm trying to edit here, but it's not my fault, it's this freaking chair.
How long have you had that thing anyway?
I don't know, a couple years?
Yeah, looks like you need a new one.
Well, sure, but where? I have no idea what in the world he's talking about. No one's at the door. Oh, did you do this?
Yep, got us a sponsorship with FlexiSpot. I know you needed a new chair, and absolutely not one of those nut-crushing gamer chairs.
Tell me about it. That freaking thing fell apart after like 3 weeks, but, well, let me get it put together and do a scene transition here, and, ooh, that looks nice. Apparently this is the FlexiSpot Ergonomic Chair C7. Well, let me take it for a spin and, oh no, this is comfy. Okay, let's see what all these knobs do. Okay, that's handy. This keeps the chair from reclining, which, yeah, I could honestly fall asleep at this thing, so that'll keep me awake. Okay, this one raises and lowers everything. Basic stuff, basic stuff. This one pushes the seat of the chair forward and back, so again, yeah, helpful for me to not fall asleep in this thing. Ooh, lumbar support adjustment. Listen, I can't tell y'all how important this is. The old chair that I had didn't have any lumbar support whatsoever, and I kept shrimping up like a prawn on third shift. So, yeah, this is fantastic for not only comfort, but also posture. All right, adjustable headrest, sick. And finally, we got fully adjustable armrest. Dude, that's freaking awesome. All right, listen everyone. I know this is a sponsor, but I am dead serious when I say I could fall asleep in this chair. I mean, look at my freaking face right here. All the while, it's kept my posture in check like no other chair I've used for work. And I know everyone's about that gamer chair branding, but sit in this one time and you're not gonna wanna get back out. Absolutely immaculate comfort, and I cannot stress how much this particular lumbar support helps. So if you're like me and desperately need a new office chair, hit my link in the description because I can't stress the Ergonomic C7 enough. And right now, using this link, this chair is almost half off. For about 350 bucks, it is a solid investment in my book, so be sure to check it out.
Alrighty, you done squeaking?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Good. Because it's time we talk about the one and only train ninjas of the Warhammer Old World, Clan Eshin of the Skaven. And when I say train ninjas, I mean that literally. The Eshin clan are a pack of rats that travel to Warhammer's not even thinly disguised interpretation of Japan called Nippon. Games Workshop, you know that Nippon is the actual name of the country IRL, right? That's like calling Arnhem, New York. Anyway, the Eshin clan are a bunch of ratmen that went to Nippon to learn how to be master assassins. Why go there of all places? Why would any sane human teach this thing how to kill more efficiently? No one knows. Because when I think of what it would be like for a bunch of evil, blood-hungry ratmen to go to Warring States period Japan, my first thought of what a samurai would do is call the Skaven a blighted yokai and put it 6 feet under with extreme martial prejudice. The last thing I would expect for anyone in Japan at this time to do is give away their military trade secrets to a pack of literal monsters. In fact, so little is even mentioned in Warhammer Fantasy about Nippon that I'm surprised it's still even there as a location and concept. Honestly, the Eshin clan are the only ones actually holding the entire country's relevance together. But anywho, as the joke has been said, if you ever wondered what it would be like if Master Splinter became a huge sociopathic jackhole and then multiplied him by 5 billion, then you have the Eshin clan. A group of quite literal rat bastards in an empire of rat bastards. And I don't say that to be crass. You have to understand, there is nothing morally gray with the Skaven. The only thing gray about the Skaven are their spellcasters. Thank you, Pancreas No Work, for letting me steal your joke. Skaven by their nature hate everything and everyone. They have zero capacity of morality or self-reflection. Every one of them thinks that they're the best and every other rat sucks. And to make matters worse, they're obsessed with warpstone. Now, what is warpstone? Well, imagine if crack rock cocaine also gave its user unimaginable and unstable magical properties and powers. Yeah, that's basically what we're looking at here with the Skaven. So I find it incredibly surprising that a bunch of sociopathic, drug-addled rats could ever be considered ninja. Because if there's one thing we've wanted you to all take away from Witch Ninja, is that ninja were resourceful, smart, cunning, and masters of psychological manipulation. Now look at this and tell me that you honestly believe that any of those traits could ever apply to something like that. Well, apparently they can in the world of Warhammer fantasy, but are they really ninja? Do they have any roots in the history that we currently know of when it comes to Shinobi? Or are we dealing with another group of all-powerful invincible killing machines with plot armor so thick it would make an Ultramarine jealous? Well, let's start with their clan as a whole. Out of the 4 great clans of the Skaven, the Eshin are the most secretive. Now, I'm not sure how much that actually says about them, considering Clan Molder makes biological abominations so terrible and make Unit 731 blush. Clan Pestilence are the Orthodox Catholics of the Black Plague, and Clan Scryer is quite literally the incarnation of the horrors of World Wars I and II. Not a lot of subtlety to spread around here. But despite all this, Clan Eshin is apparently really good at what they do, i.e. be aloof, secretive, and hire themselves out for contract work for the Council of 13. The diabolic rulers of the Skaven Under Empire. Now you might already be thinking, well, of course this makes Clan Eshin ninja. Contract work involving assassination was what being a ninja was all about. And it's there I have to heavily disagree. In the years that I've studied and researched them, assassination was actually one of the least likely things that a ninja would be contracted with. Assassination is difficult. In the old days of Japan, it was incredibly difficult to get the drop on anyone of relative esteem. From purposely squeaky floorboards that are louder than Bossman's old chair, to special attire that restricts one's movement, it was tricky to get close to a lord, let alone be, well, alone with one. I'm sure it was done from time to time, but in all the different documents that I've dug through, most Shinobi techniques, tools, and psychology revolve around ening and yoning infiltration for the sake of intel gathering or thievery. I've honestly not found a lot of information in these documents on how ninja could easily assassinate. And from what little and somewhat questionable historical documentation we have about ninja, they were contracted to typically do 2 things: infiltrate overtly or covertly, and obtain information. I suppose the next big thing ninja were really known to do is survive and travel, as their occupation had them moving from one part of Japan to another. This actually doesn't mesh well for the Eshin clan. Lore-wise, Eshin were best known as assassins. Whether they take out other high-ranking Skaven, like Scoot from Merc Pit, or other races such as Thorgrim Grudgebearer, High King of the Dwarves, or the great human wizard Heinrich Freysen, the Eshin clan seemed to serve one primary job: assassination. And look, Warhammer nerds, before you go up my backside, I know according to lore that Eshin gutter runners spanned the globe gathering information on all manner of goings-on. I know that in lore it's been said that they've even actively destroyed archives of Eshin activity, but this is all completely secondary to their ability to kill. The lore prioritizes it, their reputation prioritizes it, and the game that they are a part of prioritizes it. And if you try to tell me that that in itself is a form of disruption trying to give the impression that the Eshin are only capable of assassination, thus no one will ever think they're capable of espionage or intel gathering, I'm going to break your freaking arm, because look at this. This tells me everything these rats are known for. And going further into researching Clan Eshin, I found that the ranks are full of light shock troops such as Gutter Runners, Death Runners, Night Runners, and Eshin Triads. And I'm of 2 minds about this. On one hand, I can't help but think back to the idea of the core skill of the historical shinobi being subterfuge, infiltration, and intel gathering, not combat, direct or otherwise. But on the other, history is slowly uncovering that someone with the trained skills of a shinobi isn't just locked down to being a spy. There have been samurai ninja, shrine maid ninja, and yes, even pirate ninja. Like, ninja isn't a pure occupation, it's an additional subset of skills like swordsmanship, archery, or chemistry. And I don't know if it's a pure coincidence or not, but most of the Eshin clan units have runner in their name, and surprise, surprise, guess what was the other key skill that Shinobi developed? Running. Seriously, more than any other physical exercise, I find that there are more documents on Shinobi learning how to run insane distances more than any other kind of physical training, which does make sense considering, Well, what do you expect a ninja to do after infiltrating an enemy's territory and gathering intel? Run! Usually back to their employers or lords. So for a while there, I couldn't really decide whether or not the Eshin clan as a whole made for good ninja or not. But there's one thing that I found that really did make me side with the notion that, yeah, Eshin clan rats really aren't the best ninjas. And it's this thing that every ninja in history, one way or another, has been required to have. Subtlety. And I don't mean subtlety of combat, because even 40k orcs with all their bombastic stupidity can capitalize on basic guerrilla tactics. What Clan Eshin lacks in general is subtlety of mind. Look at this gyrating rat and tell me it has any wisdom or clarity of thought. Listen to how it talks and tell me it has anything besides blood on its mind.
We do it. Make them proud, God. Yes.
In fact, by Skaven nature, Eshin could never actually be real ninjas because they fundamentally cannot do the one thing that the Bansen Shukai, the Ninja Bible of history, tells ninja not to do. Be greedy, selfish, and use their skills solely for their own individual gain. Focusing on one's individual gain is the very default mental state of every single Skaven, and I mean all of them. Kill crazy and lacking in much versatility on a mental level, you're probably thinking that I believe these rat ninjas to be far more fiction than fact when it comes to historical ninja, right? Well, here's the twist, folks. I actually don't. In fact, for a group of ratmen in a fantastical world of elves, dwarves, and demons, I actually think there's a lot of historically inspired nuances to the Eshin clan, and all of them come in the form of Clan Eshin's greatest member, Deathmaster Snikch. Yeah, see, based on that clip, you might think that Snikch fits right alongside the other Eshin gutter runners as impossibly athletic, caring only about violence, and being completely invincible killing machines. But don't let this fool you. Snikch has so much more going on for him in terms of truly historical inspirations. First of all, let's talk about this rat's attire. Unlike other gutter runners, death runners, and night runners, Snikch is wearing blue. And you know what we always say, real ninja wear blue. But there's more to this rat's garb than color. The cloak of shadows that Snikch wears not only conceals him visibly, but also audibly. I think we take for granted just how many techniques and exercises ninja had for not only being hidden, but also being insanely quiet. Granted, this is by magical means and not realistic, but it gives Snikch a hint of subtlety, at least more so than his fellow runners have. Next, we got his whirl of weeping blades, and on the surface, this looks absolutely stupid and impractical. Snikch uses a 3-sword technique akin to Zoro from One Piece that allows him to dual-wield weeping blades while also holding one in his prehensile tail, making the rat a leaping pinwheel of death. And you're probably thinking, gosh, that sure is stupid. How could that possibly be historically accurate to real ninja? Because, while ninja never tri-wielded a weapon, they were all about unconventional combat and weapons. Seriously, have a look at the Mandiki Kusari, the Kusari Fundo, the Chikiriki, and the Kusari Gama. Do these really look like they would function all that different than a rat man trying to use his tail to swing a blade? I mean, for all intents and purposes, Snikch using his tail to whip a sword around is basically the same thing as a Kyoketsu Shoge, a long knife that was tied to either a rope or a chain and whipped around and used for slashing and stabbing. How different is that compared to Snikch, who used his tail to swing around a blade? Moreover, while most people may see these as extremely exotic and recognizable weapons, back in the day of their use, these were just farming tools. The Kusari Gama, by its very name, was nothing more than a chain and sickle welded together. While swords had been outlawed in the late Warring States period of Japan by Toyotomi Hideyoshi, there was no law about carrying farm tools around, despite how deadly they could be. So yeah, I see Snikch's use of his tail and sword to actually be more historically accurate to ninja than not. But that's not all. Snikch's warpstone stars might, on the surface, seem overly fantastic and unrealistic, but there's one thing about them that lets me buy into their lethality and historical accuracy. A lot of Eshin gutter runners and night runners use poison to be sure, but I've never heard of another Eshin clan character using warpstone by way of Shaken-style shuriken. And this is important because while warpstone itself is pure fantasy with its crack magic properties, It shows that Snikch is extremely resourceful. Resourceful enough to use everything in his capable paws to make his already deadly weapons more deadly. If Snikch's stars were only just made of metal or lightly dipped in generic poison, I'd write it off as the fantasy trope of shuriken having instant killing properties, which historically they absolutely didn't. But shuriken made of warpstone? That's like throwing shotgun shuriken made out of weapons-grade plutonium at someone. And you better believe that Ninja did more than just use generic poison. Being time period masters of chemistry, Shinobi would capitalize on all manner of chemical compounds that could disorient or kill depending on who or what the target was and what needed to be done. It wasn't just as simple as Ninja used poison. So for Snikch to use warpstone like this? I don't know. I feel like it sets him more apart compared to his gutter runner contemporaries. At least when it comes to being, quote, historically ninja. Moving on from his appearance, let's talk about the stuff that Snikch actually has done that makes him historically ninja. Cause that's what makes me crack up the most. Despite him being directly responsible for some of the biggest leader assassinations in history, like Thorgrim Grudgebearer, the Fated Place, as the world of Warhammer is called, only knows of Snikch's assassinations because he allowed them to be known. When Snikch takes someone out, he typically carves his symbol into the body of his target, letting others know who is responsible. But that is literally anything that anyone knows about Deathmaster Snikch. With maybe the exception of Grand High Lord Sneak, who is the only one that Snikch answers to, and who is also the head of the Eshin clan, no one knows where Snikch is, what he's doing, or what he's going to be doing next. Snikch has never been seen in casual passing. He appears, does his job, and disappears. That's not something you can say about the other Gutter Runners, Night Runners, Eshin Triads, or other members of the clan. I know there might be some Warhammer Fantasy diehards that want to argue that fact, but based on the research I've done, Snikch is the only rat who has pulled this off this consistently. And no, that's not me just saying that Snikch being a master at eating infiltration is what makes him feel more historical in my eyes, because I know that the other Gutter Runners are capable of that. It's the fact that he's able to manipulate his own legacy, which is something any ninja I've read about would die for. Because while a well-known ninja is a bad ninja in my book, a ninja known for fantastical, impossible physical and mental feats, with a large portion of the population actually believing it, that is a great ninja. Take for example Fujiwara no Chikata. This is a man who, during the Heian period, started a war with the Imperial Court of Japan. And his secret weapon were the Yonki, 4 great demons of fire, wind, water, and stealth that sowed chaos in the ranks of the Imperial army that pushed back against Fujiwara. So legendary were these 4 demons that their masks and tail are encased in the Iga Ninja Museum to this day. But as you might have guessed, these were not actually demons. They were one of the first archetypal ninja. But because they were so good at their job as appearing fantastical, magical, and nigh invincible, they made their own legacy as being supernatural creatures. That is what good ninja manipulation of the public's opinion is all about. The fact that no one knows anything about Deathmaster Snikch aside from his impressive body count means that Snikch can fill the Empire with fear and paranoia. And again, I know nerds are gonna at me, but Snikch is the only Eshin rat to my understanding that has this level of perfect secrecy. And as masters of psychological manipulation, this is the best possible kindling to a psychological fire that a ninja in the Sengoku period could possibly ask for. Knowing and manipulating the emotional states of your would-be enemies was as key, if not more key, to a shinobi than one's ability to steal or assassinate. Something too that I find a bit unique about Deathmaster Snikch versus the rest of Clan Eshin is something found in his idle animations in Total Warhammer 2. On occasion, Snikch will sit down and hold his paws together, and I think a lot of you are already getting a hint as to what this is. To the uninformed, this is a mudra, a placement of the hands that either symbolized or was directly responsible for the psychological manipulation of a ninja. Originally from Buddhism, like many things that Shinobi imported, the idea of hand positioning mudras were something that Shinobi adopted into their regular meditation as well as utilized in the field to manipulate their own psyche in times of stress. The best known of these being the Kuji-in, 9 mudras done in succession representing the old Buddhist prayer to call upon the divine to protect them. It might be quick and seemingly too small a detail to pay much attention to, but the fact that Snikch is the only Skaven to have ever done this means 2 things. 1, he is far more historically ninja than other Eshin that we've seen, and 2, this shows that Snikch is more in control of his thoughts and emotions than likely any other Skaven. Like I said, Skaven have the self-reflective capabilities of a vampire looking into a mirror. But with this one simple action, it gives the impression that Snikch isn't just another blood-hungry gutter runner. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's extremely violent, but there's a complexity to his psyche with this one simple gesture. It means that Snikch is not only aware of his own psyche, but is actively trying to manipulate it. Finally, the one thing that I think overall that makes Snikch specifically the most legit ninja out of all of the Eshin is the fact that he is one of, if not the only, Skaven who has a spotless track record of getting stuff done. Something you gotta understand about the Skaven is that they are so conniving, backstabbing, hate-filled, and egocentric that most of the time their greatest accomplishments have been sabotaged, intentionally or not, by other Skaven. Either through Looney Tunes-style bungling or complex espionage within the Council of 13, the Skaven are pretty terrible at what they typically set out to do. Yes, they've had some massive accomplishments here and there, but if the Skaven were able to accomplish half of their overall goals, the Empire of Man would have been long overrun by now. Snikch, on the other hand, has killed faction leaders and gotten away with it without a trace. Some might attribute that to poor writing, especially when it comes to the end times, but regardless, by official canon, Snikch is seemingly the only Skaven in the world that has masterfully accomplished everything he set out to do. That makes him absolutely the most ninja of all of the Eshin, if not all of the Skaven. For ninja in the real world to get anything done, they had to do it flawlessly. Which is why ninja books like the Bansen Shukai were filled with every contingency plan known to man for the time and the place that ninja operated in. One slip up meant getting caught. Getting caught meant being tortured for information and then executed. I don't have time to sit here and regale every single accomplishment that this rodent's achieved, but I can easily say the fact that he's done them and not only didn't get caught but is also untrackable is what makes him the most ninja of all. But what do you think, fantasy fans? Is Deathmaster Snikch a true ninja? Are Eshin clan in general more historically inspired than I gave him credit for? Let me know in the comments, and while you do, a really big thank you to this video sponsor Flexus Spot. Bossman really needed a new chair and I know he's digging it. And as always, a big thank you to our patrons who make this entire channel possible. Normally you all are fairly split when it comes to topics to talk about, but man, you all really did want to hear about the Shinobi Skaven. And it was a long time coming and we had an absolute blast looking into it, so thank you everyone. And if you like learning about ninja, Japan, and culture in general from your favorite games, movies, and shows, sub up and get notified for even more videos coming down the pipeline. And if you're a big fan of Warhammer, go check out Gimgam Glitstock on the other channel that we run. Sure, it's mostly orcs and 40k, but if you've ever been curious about Warhammer, this might make for a good stop of a source of lore and general goofiness. But as always everyone, until next time, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.